its roots lie already in 2008, 2009, the predecessor of Timelab. It was Time Festival, Annual City Festival, an art festival. At this moment, this thinking of what the role of the arts should be in society, it became very relevant and very crucial in this situation of crisis, and it became really the starting point for the new organization. At the same time, you had the worldwide rise of the maker movement, and there was like a spark of optimism in the paralyzing of the crisis. Those two elements came together in Timelab. So why is it called Timelab? It's because we really wanted to keep a bit of the soul of the older organization in there, because Time Festival existed for almost 20 years, and it was as a city festival a very special case, because at a time where the arts was very much, almost only busy with the arts and not so much about the connection with society, Time Festival always made this connection already. Yeah, there was a plan. So basically what we did is the festival was subsidized from the government as a festival, as an art festival, and we made this a bit revolutionary plan of totally changing the structure, and we really asked the government, we want to become a lab. Can there be a shifting of the budget? Can we keep the budget for a different organization? And they said yes. Today it's our aim to have a 50-50 split. So we will always need some subsidies, but we want to be very self-reliant, and we want to have a 50% own income basis. Yeah, it's true what you say. The community is really like the heart of the organization. It's about 100 people who are a member, and we have a shared set of values. That we share, that we have communal, but they come in because they're interested in the lab. They become a member, which means that they pay a membership fee of 180 euros per year, that is, and that gives them access to the lab, to see it, to use it as their own lab. So they work on their own designs. So we build on next to, based from the things that get born in the community. We as a team, there's 4 of us on the payroll, we develop projects from there. So there's this constant partnership with the community. It's a good question. It's also a more complex issue to collaborate with people with different talents and on a communal project. When we start with a project, we will map the talents that we have of the people who want to contribute, but we will also see, okay, but to do this project we will also need that and that talent that we don't have already in the group that wants to collaborate. We will go scout those talents extra. So that means that every project is always building on the talents from the community, but it's also an opportunity to enlarge the community with extra skills that we might need for that specific project. But I think what's really special is that everybody has their talents and their backgrounds, or things that they use in their job, for example, but that they don't use in another setting. So very often you get enormous enthusiasm by people who are, for example, a biologist or an engineer, or who can suddenly invest their skills in a project that is communal, that is taking place in another atmosphere. It's, for example, a project that will address a complicated issue in society instead of something purely technical in their own job. So there's like a bigger goal in which they can contribute. No, we don't have a policy like that. Yeah, to be honest, that is all very personal and informal. There's always somebody from the team is responsible when the lab is open, and we have a no laptop policy when we're on duty. So it's just about connecting to who's here and really inviting them, like, oh, you're making this, so you want to share it, or is there maybe a reason why you wouldn't want to open your process? Usually there isn't. The people who work here, they want to share their processes, and they're very proud to document it. So rather than having a policy, we support them. So I'll ask them, okay, you have some good pictures, shall I maybe make some good pictures? What machines did you use? How will we? So we support a bit in guiding them through the communication platform, but we don't have a real policy that you have to share or that you have to pay if you don't share. We've been subsidized as within the arts, which means we were a non-profit organization, and we had purely a lab function. So it was just our job to support artists and makers. What we could see the last 1.5-2 years is that it was such a pity to only do that. And today we sort of found this terminology to define 3 phases that could help me explain a bit. It's like the gas, the liquids, and the solid phase. And so the gas phase is, of course, the first phase. It's the moment where somebody comes with an idea, or something comes up from the community, or an artist brings in a concept. So an artist can come with a concept, or we as a team can spot a complicated issue in society that we feel we want to dig our heels into. So that's the gas phase. It's more about brainstorming, of detecting things, and ending with like a clear, simple pitch. This could be an interesting thing to work around. For example, can we make a machine that recycles plastic on very short chain locally? We'll look for the real necessity to do it, and this means if you can find partners in several sectors, there's like a building ground, like a good ground to start a project on. If we can't find partners and we still find it's a very good idea, we might have to decide that in fact it's not a good moment to do it, because then it won't be carried later on. The end of the phase should give us the means and the partnership to go into a longer phase, the liquid phase. That's usually 12 to 16 weeks period, and it's also the period of co-creating, of really making the prototype with a team that has some people from the community in there, maybe also some partners and experts from outside. And at the end of this phase, we'll have a functioning prototype, and usually, hopefully, some answers to some research questions that we formulated. Like with the recycle bot, at the end we had a functioning small machine to recycle plastic locally, and we also had some answers to some research questions, because here, for example, we collaborate also with recycling stores. For example, they had a very concrete issue of having devices brought in that all have like something missing, like a part missing. The devices are thrown away, but in fact, if you would just replace one of the parts, it could start a new life circle. So we had one research line with them to map what are the typical parts that break, and can we make those through 3D printing. So, like that we have several research lines per project to have possible impact in different levels. And this was a bit frustrating at some point, because we're ambitious in that sense that we want to realize projects with impact, and also that we find it so interesting that an artist could bring in a concept that but later on it could actually be the starting point for an entrepreneur to build his business on. But in the old model, we couldn't make that work. So just 2 months ago, we became a cooperative enterprise, because we think this will give us the base structurally to make it possible to have those follow-up projects. So We still have to realize all the first cases, in that model. It's all new and fresh, but the idea is that an entrepreneur, a sustainable entrepreneur, can build on the prototype for the solid phase, for really a valorization, really setting up a business based on the prototype, but always from the shared set of values. So we will only share the prototype and everything that we've learned if there is like a connecting to the cooperative and to the shared set of values. This whole lab, this whole organization, it's connected to this peer-to-peer philosophy, and for us it's about designing new systems to organize our society. So it's a lot about transition and about new models to organize ourselves, our society, but also our business. Economy and businesses, it's such an important tool to organize our society, and it seems to have all gone loose and disconnected. While, entrepreneurs, people building their businesses, it's such a crucial part in valorizing new ideas and really bringing them in society. But I say sustainable entrepreneurs, and with sustainable I mean not that they simply use sustainable materials, but rather sustainable in a more fundamental way, that how they develop their business is really within this set of values of this new system that we need to organize our society fundamentally in a more sustainable way. So it's about social justice, it's about dealing differently with our time and energy, with people's talents, so it sort of connects to all the complicated things that we're a bit stuck with at the moment, all our failing systems. It's also about the fact that you become connected and an owner again of the problem or something. You don't have to say, oh, too difficult, I can't deal with it, it's for government, it's for... no, you can start with a concrete small problem and make something and share it, and then put it in a bigger context, and then maybe an entrepreneur might build his business on it, and so it's like this, it has this bigger and bigger effect potentially.